I needed a lot of practice, and I hated speaking. That's why I don't believe in the saying yung follow your passion, kasi it should be follow your hard work.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Leadership Stack Podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs to increase your leadership, teamwork, and profits. This is your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. How did you know that you want to do public speaking?
My speaking program, it's called No Dull Moment. And I share there how I started. I really hated speaking. But I was forced to speak because when I was young, I became part of a direct selling company, and they would force me to go to speak on stage to be able to relate to the younger audience, to the younger demographic. So ako yung pinakabata that time, and kung alam niyo yung rotonda sa Shangri-La Mall Hotel, meron din yung pa-circle. I would drive around that for like 5 to 10 times and think of an alibi. Sumasakit yung tiyan ko, masakit yung ulo ko, hindi ako makakapunta. But I never missed an event. I was scheduled to speak, and I would always be there. Kulang na lang sumuka ako dun sa stage, no? Hindi nga butterflies in my stomach eh. Mga bubuyog. Si Sean hindi nakaka-relate siya, no? Kasi highly confident so when he speaks, di ba? Ako hindi. I needed a lot of practice, and I hated speaking. That's why I don't believe in the saying yung follow your passion, kasi it should be follow your hard work, or like Mark Cuban says, follow your effort. Nagsispeak ako, I was really bad. Speak ulit, I was really bad. Speak, and then I became a little bit better. I became better. And before I knew it, I didn't know that I was gonna be here today. So, yun yung sa akin. I followed my hard work. That's one. Another is I have mentors who helped me along the way. Mentors would cut your learning curve into half. Sinasabi ko nga, Sean, di ba, yung story natin, no? Ako, I got my first pay sa isang speaking engagement after 10 years of speaking. 10 years. So, lahat yun, mga free. Yung mga ginagawa ko before.
Grabe.
Yung maganda, may business ako, di ba? I don't need to earn from it. And little did I know that that's where I'm gonna be placed.
Just to redeem myself, kinakabahan din ako sobra. Especially in the first few years. Super. But I didn't hate it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to become better. And how I got a lot of gigs naman, speaking gigs and inquiries is through SEO. So I ranked for Filipino motivational speaker. I just tried out that keyword. It's the most searched for keyword before, and sabi ko, why don't I try to rank for that? And I ranked somewhere top 3. Naglalaro lang top 1, 2, 3 during that time. And medyo napabayaan ko na kasi I have to turn down some speaking gigs na ngayon because of business and the pandemic and everything's a lot of things are going on right now. A lot of things are in my plate, but that's how we started. So very different. But I completely agree. Follow your effort. You will know where you're getting better at, and that's where people will pay you because you have a lot of value to give. Next question for you, Jason, would be: how are you confident in speaking in front of other people? How are you not awkward?
You have to do your homework, and you have to know your audience. So before I speak, I study my audience, who my audience would be. I think that's one of my strengths as a speaker. I can speak to different groups, from top level to masa, from students to CEOs, entrepreneurs. And it's learning how to speak their language. So in other words, for example, I will talk about, let's say, leadership. Sabihin mo, sa corporate, leadership, you need to have your own vernacular. You need to have your own language. So that's corporate talk. Pero pagkausap ko na ang mga let's say middle managers, you have to believe in yourself if you want to be a leader, 'di ba? Kasi if you don't believe in yourself, other people won't believe in you. So kausap ko noon mga estudyante, talk about leadership. So ano bang tropology natin? Sino bang mga katropa mo sa yung mga matatalino, yung mga basagulero. So it's like, how can you deliver the same language to different kinds of people, the same language, share it effectively, and ang number one quality of a good speaker is really about passion. And I'm not talking about the rara, emotional type of passion. What I'm talking about is the passion for their topic, knowing it inside out. And this is a study that they conducted, and they found out that among the 500 plus top TED speakers, the most popular, that's the number one quality. It's really passion. So, ang passion, importante siya, no? You care about your topic, you love your topic, kasi speaking in a way, it's a transfer of emotions. But what's more important is getting your audience to care about what you're talking about. And it takes time to do that. It takes a lot of preparation to do that. But once you get it, kaya importante yung topic na pipiliin nyo, you're passionate about it, but also find how you can be different, how your topic can be unique from others.
So I completely agree with that. No, you have to know your stuff. If you don't, if you're not completely sure about it, you go on that stage, it's gonna wreck you, and you're gonna stutter, you're gonna be unsure. Maraming. It's like a vicious cycle. The moment you lose confidence in yourself because you're not sure about how well you're delivering this topic that you supposedly are a master of, it's gonna ruin your talk. The next question would be from Cedric. If you weren't a good speaker initially and you considered it to be a weakness, so I think he's stemming from your answer earlier, why did you still try to hone it? Did John Maxwell not mention that we should hone our strengths instead of our weaknesses?
Speaking isn't really a weakness for me. But sa totoo lang, speaking kasi is a skill eh. It's a technical skill. You can learn it eh. Kahit na hindi ka magaling mag-speak. And there are many, hindi sila magaling mag-speak, but they're doing it out of necessity. And that's what happened to me. It was out of necessity because I needed to do it. Since we are part of a direct selling company, I had to present well, I have to speak well, and I learned it. Yung passion kasi, you become passionate about things that you are good at or you're good in. So, yung nagiging unti-unti akong getting better and better sa speaking, then I started liking it. I started loving it. But generally, I wouldn't call it a weakness. It is more of a talent that I haven't discovered yet. And it took people to help me discover that. Kasi marami tayong mga ginagawa na bagay na we don't like naman doing, but we have to do it. Diba? For example, waking up early in the morning, I don't think people like to do that. But if you run a business and you have to wake up early, then you have to do it. In basketball, I don't think they want to lift weights. I don't think they want to practice. LeBron James and Steph Curry, they don't practice every day. They practice 2 to 3 times a day. Yung practice nila, weights, they don't like to do that. I don't think any sane human being would want to do that, but they have to. So nandun ako sa line na yon. I'm also a strengths coach, by the way. Strengths finder. I'm a certified strengths coach. So I know that we should be focusing on our strengths, but that's not part of the strengths that John Maxwell was talking about.
The strength spectrum, speaking is more of a skill. Tama, I agree with Jason. You learn it, you learn the ins and outs of it, the technicalities. It's a very broad skill. More of a weakness would be keeping to yourself or not wanting to grow and improve. I would say being stubborn about your comfort. Yan. For me, that's more of the weakness. No. And you have to work on that. The next question is from Cedric Choa. Again, I think this is a follow-up question for you. Was there ever a time you relayed false information or committed a grammatical error during a speaking event? I sometimes want to be a great speaker too, but I fear that I might commit those mistakes. Accidentally relayed wrong information. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you speak for an hour, 2 hours, one day. Sometimes I speak for two days. Magkakamali ka ng sometimes grammatical error, and I've had a lot of epic failures in speaking. Many. I mean, you wouldn't grow in any profession, any business if you don't commit mistakes. Yung failure kasi is not your foe. Failure is your friend. As long as you don't commit the same failures over and over, and make same mistakes over and over again. And sa mga speaking engagements ko na I committed some mistakes. Until today, I remember them. Those that I was highly successful in. Some of them I forgot already. Pero yung mga failures, nag-stick siya sa akin. So yung mga grammatical errors, okay lang yun. Kakamali naman tayo lahat eh. And just come in prepared. For mga information naman, you have to really do your homework. You have to do your homework. And I've had some mistakes also regarding that in the past. I think not that someone corrected me, but it happens. Just be open to it and move on. Yun naman yung sikreto dyan. Tsaka importante if you wanna speak. The best way is to really look for mentors. Look for people who can help you cut the learning curve in so many ways. Cut it in half, because that's one thing that really, it was one of those bottlenecks for me. No one really taught me how to do it, and no one taught me hacks. I had to learn it on my own. So that's why I made it part of my mission also to teach what I learned to some next generation speakers that I have encountered.
Actually, one of the things pa that I learned from, I think I learned this from you, Jason, because you sat in twice in different times, no, that I spoke and gave me some feedback. That was really helpful. So I do agree. Get mentors, get friends to help you out. Jason was really helpful for me because he's a master public speaker. So whatever he says is gold for me. Of course, don't get people who don't know public speaking to comment on your public speaking, diba? So get people who know more than you, who has more experience than you.
One talk I had in Jollibee, I mentioned that my favorite fast food is KFC. So yung mga ganon, kasi there was one part of my speech that was really scripted. Nakalimutan kong i-edit. Tapos there was one conference, 4,000 people. Nag-speak ako, church event. Pagbaba ko ng stage, tinanong ko yung wife ko, so how was it? Sabi niya, it's good, maganda siya, pero meron ka lang isang mali. Sabi ko, ano yun? Kasi ang verse ko was in Psalm 78 yata. Nilagay ko dun sa slide ko, Proverbs 78. So kung alam mo yung Bible, ang Proverbs hanggang 31 lang. Umabot ako ng 78. After ko mag-speak, may praise and worship, pinaakyat ako ulit to pray. Sabi ko, everyone, God is not looking for perfect people. You and I are not perfect. And if you noticed, I flashed on my slide there, Proverbs 78. There's no Proverbs 78. I made a big mistake in front of all of you. And that's a good example. Pagbaba ko ng stage, di tapos na. May mga lumapit sa akin. Sir, sinadya mo ba na mali yung verse?
It's so encouraging to hear that someone who I have to use the word great and experienced as you you committed those mistakes, you're honest about it, and for those of you listening in tonight, that's how you become better. A lot of people look at successful people on top of their mountain. And I know I've said this before in previous podcast episodes. You see people on the top of their game, on the top of their mountain, but you don't see that the dead bodies under the mountain. And those dead bodies are their failures, made up of their own dead bodies. And it's what helps you to climb up. Otherwise, you can't be successful. You can get by, but not find success. That's the truth.
This episode is partnered up with Armory.ph. Armory is an online watch store and is the exclusive distributor of the brands TW Steel, Dion Milano, Fonderia, Luminox, and Mondane in the Philippines. Yes, folks, those are Italian watch brands. If you are looking to buy your next go-to luxurious everyday watch, go to Armory.ph and enter the coupon code LS30. Armory.ph delivers straight to your doorstep with a security tape to make sure that your package is safe from theft, arrives on time, and is guaranteed working 100%. Go to Armory.ph and buy your first luxury watch today.
If you keep fighting, if you keep getting in the ring, if you keep getting punched, there's two things that's going to happen. You're going to end up covered in bruises, or you're going to learn to move better. And so that was really what happened. So over time, I became better. I made myself better. I became a student of the pain.